The Sunfallen Road, Chapter 13. A few weeks went by. I finished the paperwork for the Parisian exchange treaty and returned them to Glass one late evening after calling ahead. I didn't linger long, but he surprised me yet again. He had summoned the entire court, and a great many community members were present also. I had had no idea he planned to do this. Michael descended from the dais, proffering me a large, elegantly decorated box, sealed with his wax seal and wrapped with ribbons. I understood he was making a very large and public demonstration of recognition, and I felt oddly touched. Lady Aguilar, this is to thank you for many years of loyal and competent service, intoned the regent, and to indicate my goodwill towards you for the work you have done for the vampire community as a whole. This court wishes you the best, wherever your path may lead you. The room erupted into applause, and while I was grateful for their appreciation, I was tremendously discomfited. My work had always been done in solitude and relative silence. I had not expected a single inch of any of this. I accepted the box, however, and bowed deeply before him. Your Grace does me great honor, I said, and I thank you for your generous compliments and well wishes. Good health to you, Your Grace. He smiled, a smile as warm as the winter snows, but it hardly mattered. As happy as I was to never have to deal with his snobbishness and that of his court ever again, I was just as happy to receive his praise. It was gratifying to know that my work was appreciated in some capacity, even if it was by a silver-spooned brat like Michael Glass. I had to bite back a chuckle at this last thought. I kept my face straight, though, and as I turned to leave the Chicago court for one of the last times, for the first time I felt a stab of melancholy, but accompanying it was a sense of delicious anticipation at the places I would go and the things I would see with Silver. I returned home to an almost dancing Silver. Look, he said, holding up a package for me to see. Your passport, I said. Yep, he said. He nodded towards the package I carried. What's that? I'm not sure. The regent gave it to me in recognition for my service. I sat in the living room with him and pulled off the ribbons and broke the seal. Removing the lid from the box, I saw that I was staring at several bundles of cash and, sitting at one side of the box, almost like an afterthought, was a small velvet-covered box and a slim envelope of parchment near it. Talk about a bonus, Silver remarked, staring at all the money. I took the small velvet box and the envelope from the larger one and handed it to him with the cash still in. Keep it. I don't need it. He gawked at me. No way! You don't even know how much is in there. Count it, then, I said, opening the envelope. In it, Michael had placed an excellent letter of character, written in his scribe's hand and stamped with his regent seal. I refolded the letter carefully and placed it back in the envelope. I picked up the velvet box and opened it, and gasped in surprise. It was a ring, made of platinum, that bore a winged dragon ornamented with tiny rubies. It was exquisitely made, but that was not the reason for my surprise. Seals of service in the vampire community are bestowed for various reasons, but there are 3 icons used: the serpent, the lizard, and the dragon. The dragon ring can only be bestowed by a regent and is considered to be the highest mark of esteem placed on a vampire in recognition for service. Serpent rings are usually given to servants or vassals of vampire kin, lizard rings to attendants and those who serve at courts, but dragon rings are rarely given to any vampires but regents. This was the highest honor I could receive from the vampire community. I looked inside the band, as seals of service usually have inscriptions. The inscription inside the band of my ring read, "To Lady Melpomene Aguilar, diplomat and scribe, who has served her kin faithfully since the year 1803 A.D." And in smaller letters beneath, Michael Glass, Regent of Chicago. I covered my mouth. Silver was staring at me. What is it, Mel? I explained what the ring meant, and he blinked and smiled at me. That's fantastic, Mel. he exclaimed, setting aside the box and coming to sit next to me. He kissed my cheek. I'm proud of you. I laughed. Michael Glass may be an arrogant prick, but he certainly has outdone himself. This was the last thing I expected. I slipped the ring onto my pinky finger. It fit perfectly. This will help keep us safe, you know. How so? Other vampires will recognize the ring and know that I have a regent's protection and goodwill, I said. Also, should I ever be in want of work, all I have to do is show this ring, and it will speak for me. Michael Glass certainly was an arrogant prick, but I suddenly felt grateful to him. There was $100,000 American in the box. When Silver finally finished counting, he stared at me. You can't possibly be serious about me keeping this. I am, I said casually. If you invest it well, it will take care of you for some time. What do you suggest I do? Start by opening a money market account, I said. After a year, consult a financier about buying stocks and tell them that you want to regularly cash them in as a way to support yourself. Now that you have an identity, you could even go to college. He blinked and looked at the documents he'd received. I'd managed to get him copies of his birth certificate and a social security card as well as a passport. Holy crap, I'd never thought of that. You're smart. I'm certain you could succeed. I don't remember a lot about school, he admitted. Could you help me? I smiled. Of course, I said. He nodded again. Let's do it then. We spent the summer traveling. We went to South America on Silver's whim. We visited Peru, Chile, Brazil, and Uruguay. We had hundreds of souvenirs shipped back to my house in Chicago, and I felt sympathy for the post office, who had been asked to hold my mail while we were away. We took thousands of pictures, but my only sadness was that Silver had to go out alone during the day, since I could not be awake or endure the sun. He confessed the same sadness to me, that he could not share the day's beauty with me alongside him, that he could only capture it in photographs to show me. But the nighttime was magical. We ate and drank and laughed. In the cities, I hunted, but in the wilds, I saw other supernatural creatures that Klaus had spoken of, but that I had never before seen, daughter of the cities as I was. I saw a wild humanoid creature of innumerable colors with their companions, some clothed, some naked, running through the grasses and trees, and once I saw a human-like creature covered with shaggy fur that laid back its ears like a dog and growled at me. I used the speed gift to run back to the city, and for the first time in 100 years, I felt the need to catch my breath. Klaus had spoken to me long ago of werewolves and warned me never to trifle with them. They were wild creatures, nearly as bloodthirsty as we were, and our two races had clashed since their emergence. We are not of their kind, he said darkly. We are unnatural. They are not. I thought of Klaus that night as I returned to the city after seeing that strange beast, and before I returned to the hotel, I closeted myself in an alley and cried bloody tears for his death. I loved Silver, and I never would have given him up for anything, but I would have given almost anything to know that Klaus was still on Earth somewhere. I had loved him as a friend and perhaps even a brother, and perhaps I never should have left him behind the way I did. I rarely wrote to never return to Berlin to see him, not even once. I had been monstrously unfair to him, and there was no way for me to take back what I had done, or hadn't. Vampires regret things into the very dust of the earth. It is our way. We live such long lives that everything we do and see stays with us and haunts our very steps, and our hearts, or what is left of them. I never told Silver of the things I saw when I was hunting near the wilds, for I thought they would only frighten him. I was wrong, of course. I later discovered that nothing frightened Silver, not really, and not because he was a fool. It was because he had such extraordinary faith in the functions of the world. He believed that if the divine wanted him to live, he would, and if it was his destiny to die, he would do that as well. He feared nothing, neither pain nor death nor disease, and it struck me. What a weak and pale thing most of vampire kind was placed next to him, us who feared everything from fire to the sun to one another. But in due course we returned home, and Silver took my car and went to the post office to retrieve all our packages. In the evening, we unpacked all our purchases and put them away, or on shelves, or on tabletops, reliving our journey. In the weeks that followed our return, I began to tutor Silver, and I advised him on what to do at the local college to set up his examinations. He was a quick learner with a blessed memory, and I knew that by the time he left to start his first day at college that he was miles ahead of his peers. But he changed, while I did not really. I didn't know it then, but it was my unchangeable nature that changed everything.